What's this? Who is this? What's this? Chairs. Are you sure? Is there some paint?
What the hell? Why does she need to hog all this? Silla, good God, stop. Yeah.
I didn't cook anything. So, what do you want me to get you for the lunch tomorrow?
I don't know yet. I guess I'll. Sorry. No, I'll answer now.
My daddy and Papa said just text me.
See? Unlike you, I've got no mercy left to give, 'cause ruthlessness, mercy upon myself. Sensitive. You're just jealous because you're a man. You're a man in the Honkai world. Just wait. She probably lives in that corner. Still? This is going on. Finally.
exciting, it's goddamn epic. The musical lives up to its name and then some, with its consistently thrilling and huge vocals and background music. Is this approach perfect? Well, no, it kinda has the downside of sounding a little too samey at times. But we can get into that later. This is the positive part. I want to keep up this momentum and talk about the great stuff in this show. Like I said, Jorge's performance as Odysseus is overall really good and very likable. You absolutely find yourself invested in his plight, even after some of his more unsavory actions in the second half. It really helps that he has great camaraderie with two of his primary crewmates, Stephen Dooky's Polites and Armando Julian's Eurylochus. God bless Stephen Dooky, man. He just has such a unique innocence to his voice that suits this character and his ideology so perfectly. I feel like he's one of, if not the most perfectly cast actors in the show. And his impact is absolutely felt across it, even if his character doesn't live very long. Eurylochus is vital to most of Odysseus' journey, though. And you can absolutely hear the loyalty and admiration for his captain in Armando's voice. I love a ton of their songs together, with their back and forth in Puppeteer being especially strong. Oh, speaking of which, man does Talia Sindel slay as Circe. Such a tremendous sense of superiority and wickedness dripping from her deliveries. Her songs are well written too. I especially love the way she tells Odysseus' men, "Welcome to the best part of your lives." Such a definitive statement that she makes so confidently, showing off her callousness and implying that their short and pitiful lives are about to peak before coming to an end as they know it. Some of the best songs in the show undoubtedly go to specific gods. They all have their own unique vibes to make them stick out from the rest of the show. Zeus is exactly as powerful and imposing as you would hope, with a lot of this ode to Luke Holt's tremendously strong delivery. But also the phenomenal instrumentation and thunder sound effects really sell Thunderbringer and make it one of the show's best. The same is true for Ruthlessness. I like the interpretation of Poseidon being a bit of a dude bro, while also being believably intimidating and vengeful. Steven Rodriguez did a really good job with him. I want to give special mention to Barbara Wangui as Calypso. I feel like she tends to go a little bit forgotten since Calypso isn't the focus of either of the sagas she appears. But I adore both of her songs with their tropical island feel and twinge of sadness and loneliness. In particular, Not Sorry for Loving You is genuinely one of the best unrequited love songs I've heard in any musical. Like, I think it's kind of a sleeper pick for one of the best songs in the whole show. It's one where I can't really pick out a single thing wrong with it, which, admittedly, I can't say about most songs in the show as much as I love it. But obviously, out of the entire God ensemble, I think Tegan Early is the real show stealer as Athena. She just has such a presence to her. Her voice conveys wisdom so well, not to mention ruthlessness in the first act that slowly gives way to compassion as time goes on. Athena's songs are some of the best in the whole show, even if I think one of hers is a little overrated, but we'll get to that later. This show is also so damn good at crafting recurring motifs, both musically and thematically, that persist throughout the entire show. The specific way Penelope and Telemachus' names are sung are memorable and sweet. You get really emotionally wrapped up in that scene with Odysseus' mother in the underworld. And the waiting bit she sings is so memorable and emotionally effective that when Penelope takes it over at the end, damn it, it really works. The same is true for Polites' Open Arms melody. First being used as a cheerful tune to establish his character and worldview, then constantly getting reused in slower, somber moments after his death. I love the way Luck Runs Out in Act 1 and Mutiny in Act 2 parallel each other both musically and narratively, with Luck Runs Out presenting the nebulous possibility of Eurylochus opposing Odysseus in the future, which is paid off beautifully when he finally has a reason to in Mutiny. Further tying these two songs together with the Home of the Wind / Sun God melody is brilliant. They feel like two of a kind, without Mutiny being a straight up reprise. It still keeps some of its own identity. I really love how Odysseus tells the Cyclops, "I am your darkest moment," after merely blinding him and letting him live. Then Poseidon throws that right back in his face, saying, "I am your darkest moment," after killing 500 of his men. Good lord. It ties really well into the central theme of the show, which, hey, we might as well get into now. The progression of Odysseus' character is so well done. I think think the main claim to fame this musical has as an adaptation, aside from just sounding really fucking cool, is centering every narrative beat around Odysseus' morality and his desire not to kill. Practically everyone he encounters across the journey tells him killing is a necessity in a variety of contexts. Zeus insisting killing a baby will prevent the death of his family in the future, Athena ordering him to kill the Cyclops to prevent further problems, Aeolus cheekily telling him he might need to kill his friends if they try and open the wind bag, and Poseidon... Oh, we'll get to Poseidon. Let's take it from the top though, and see how this theme brilliantly carries throughout the show. So, at first I thought it was a weird choice to have Odysseus be so anti-violence in Act 1, considering the act opens with him killing a baby. Like, you kinda can't come back from that, man. You've already done your most ruthless action in the opening of the show, so who are you kidding when you try and show mercy throughout Act 1? But then I thought about it more, and I realized, no, wait, that's kind of the point. Odysseus is already more than willing to kill during the Trojan War, but being forced to kill that baby is a shock to his system. Him trying to show mercy from that point on is his way of mentally atoning for this horribly evil action. It does make logical sense as an impetus for a general who slayed so many Trojans to not want to kill anymore. Oh, and this is probably a good time to say that that one part in the underworld where he frantically sings, "I keep thinking of the infant from that night," that bit right there is one of the best damn parts of the entire damn show. Like, that goes fucking insane. I can't even really put into words why. It's just like, holy shit, dude. The entire baby killing subplot is worth it alone just for that part of the underworld. Anyway, back to his arc. Yeah, it's really well played out. We see him make a mistake by leaving the Cyclops alive, which leads to Poseidon killing the vast majority of his crew as revenge. It's here we get what I think is the most recurring thesis of the entire show. Like, if Epic was on Letterboxd, this would be the little tagline underneath the year and director. Ruthlessness is mercy upon ourselves. I'm not saying that's a good philosophy to live by, but what I am saying is that so much of the show itself revolves around that one line. The idea that Odysseus needs to stop playing nice and be more ruthless in order to make it home. An idea that unfortunately proves to be true. From Poseidon killing his men in an incident that totally would have been avoided if Odie had just killed his son, to the prophet's insistence that the man who makes it home to Penelope will no longer be Odysseus, that he'll lose himself and any semblance of a conscience he had left along the way. I like how it comes right after Circe, where she and Odysseus grant each other mercy. It gives you hope in a kinder journey ahead from both Odysseus' perspective and that of his foes. But then the prophet brings you back to reality and makes you realize, no, that was just an idealistic dream. The Act 1 finale monster isn't really my all-time favorite in the show musically, but it's a chilling narrative beat where Odysseus considers the ruthless action of every god and monster he's encountered so far, and mentally justifies all of them, even noting that his actions during the Trojan War were pretty similar. It makes for a really strong culmination of everything we've seen so far, and a great hook going into Act 2. This leads into the Thunder Saga, which is so damn good, largely because it has its own perfect standalone thematic through line that also ties into the larger thematic through line being told. This is where we get to see Odysseus' ruthlessness in full force. We start out with him killing the Sirens, with every one of his crewmates being on board for this. Hell yeah, he's a different beast now. He's like a leopard eating their faces. Then we get through the lair of Scylla, where in order to make it through, Odysseus consciously decides to sacrifice 6 of his own men. This is that bridge too far from what he did to the Sirens. A real wake-up call to everyone else in his crew who realize, I never thought the leopard would eat my face. So they hold him down, and we get to see just how incompetent they are without his leadership. They probably would have just eaten the glowing seeds at the beginning without him, and the journey would have been over there. But here, they slay the cattle of the sun god, and Zeus arrives to exact his revenge. And this is one of the coolest damn additions that wasn't in the original Odyssey. Instead of the men dying while Odysseus survives, since he was the only one not to eat the cattle, Zeus gives Odysseus the choice of whether he or his crew should die. And he chooses the damn through. Another instance of the ruthlessness within this saga being stepped up to astronomic levels. It's a perfect reflection of a man who's lost all conscience and will to do the right thing, since he's solely focused on getting home to his wife, no matter the cost. It's a deeply insane moment within the narrative, but it feels earned because of how well the rest of the saga and the show builds up to it. Then we finally get to the Vengeance Saga, where Odysseus finally gets to carry out his vengeance on Poseidon. And I feel like we should be horrified or whatever, but honestly, I can kind of get behind Odie here. I mean, Poseidon kind of deserves this. Regardless, this is another insane dramatic moment with such great buildup and intensity. Hearing Poseidon shriek that Odysseus is a monster after having him declare himself as such at the end of Act 1 is what really solidifies how far he's fallen. And Odysseus throwing Poseidon's words back at him with, "Didn't you say that ruthlessness is mercy upon ourselves?" Oh, that is just diabolical. Such a damn great moment. To me, this is the real final boss of Epic, and the suitors were just kind of a bonus mob to fight in the epilogue. 600 Strike to me is the natural climax of the show, where Odysseus finally strikes down his main portion. After he kills the suitors and reunites with Penelope, I have to admit, maybe the ending feels a little too straightforward and happy. After everything he's done, it's hard to say if he truly deserves it. But I guess there's something to be said about the potential for redemption and the remaining humanity that can still be found within Odysseus. Another one of my absolute favorite parts of the show is his last encounter with Athena in the penultimate song, where they've switched perspectives compared to the beginning. Athena feels remorse towards her role in shaping Odysseus into the monster he became, and expresses her hope for a kinder world. Only for Odysseus to dismiss the idea that he'll live to see one, but that Athena might make it so after his time, since he'll live forever. It's a really profound and mature moment, and I'm glad this relationship was given closure in between Odysseus' reunions with Telemachus and Penelope. I'm also glad both of them get their own songs reunited. It's overall a nice ending story-wise, and I can say the same about the entirety of the musical. It's just a good, unique adaptation that has its own things to say about morality and how much of himself a man can lose in his pursuit of a noble cause. He can't erase his horrible actions. I still get chills every time I hear his exchange with Eurylochus at the end of Puzzle. I have to see her, but will die. I know. It's intense and messy, and I appreciate the risks it takes in how it depicts Odysseus. I feel like a more commercially minded musical adaptation of the Odyssey wouldn't strive to make him this monstrous and potentially unlikable. But it all ties into the incredibly interesting central theme, and I'm mostly super happy with the way it's all played out. So yeah, I think Epic is overall pretty great. Is it anywhere near one of my favorite musicals? Yeah, truth be told, in addition to all the praises I have for this show, I also kind of have a lot of problems with it. I debated even discussing these problems in this video, because despite its high production values, Epic is ultimately an independent passion project from one guy that shouldn't be put to the same scrutiny as a lot of musicals produced by massive companies that make it to Broadway. I don't really want to be too harsh to an insanely impressive independent work made by someone far more talented than I am. But the thing is, I also don't really want you to leave with the impression that I have nothing but positive feelings about this show. That just feels a little disingenuous. I really, really like it, and there are quite a few magnificent parts and songs. But there are also some elements that I think are a little weak in comparison. I know large chunks of the Epic fandom are a little bit close-minded when it comes to criticism of the show, so that's why I wanted to preface this section with heaps of praise, and a disclaimer that I don't think this show deserves to be held to the same high standards as other musicals. Basically what I'm trying to say is, don't get mad at me. You can just stop the video here if you don't want to hear any critiques at all. For everyone else, I hope you'll keep an open mind and open arms with this part. I think one of my biggest problems is that the show just sounds samey in a lot of instances. A lot of that comes down to it being extremely Odysseus-centric. There's only one saga where he barely appears. Otherwise, he's pretty much there the whole time, and there isn't much variation in his vocals. He scream sings a lot, and eventually that does start to blend together. I really like this one part of Mutiny when he begs Eurylochus not to eat the cattle, because he sounds very weary and tired while he does it, going for gentle high notes instead of being loud. One of my favorite songs in the show is The Underworld, but if I had one critique of it, I really wish the first few times he sang All I Hear Are Screams were more quiet and remorseful, because that would make the final All I Hear Are Screams, when he finally does scream the lyrics, infinitely more explosive and impactful. I also feel like the final song in the show is not the time for him to be screaming. I wish he was quieter and more weary sounding then, but oh well. In general, the show could use a little bit more variation in terms of the way people sing. Everyone is loud and has these big, dare I say, epic moments all the time. But when everything's epic, nothing will be. The reason So If You Care to Find Me, Look to the Western Sky hits so hard is because there's nothing else like it in Wicked at that point. I really wish Epic had more songs like We'll Be Fine. It was so much softer and more soothing than the other songs that it made me realize, hey, why didn't we get more songs like this in Act 1? I understand that if there's any musical where you want to go big and grand a lot of the time, it's an adaptation of the goddamn Odyssey, but you can still keep a lot of the big moments while toning down other less significant songs. I mean, if this gets a stage adaptation, Odysseus is going to be one of the most ridiculously demanding roles ever, considering how often he sings loudly and how often he'd be on stage. I also just don't like some of these lyrics. There are plenty of good ones, but I don't think it's controversial to say that Jorge is a much better musician than he is a lyricist. One general problem across the show is the heavy use of slant rhyme, and I'm not super opposed to slant rhyme every once in a while, but it just pops up so frequently in this show, and it kind of annoys me a little bit. I mean, good lord, my girlfriend counted and found there were 205 uses of slant rhyme, and that's not including repeated rhymes. I mean, don't you think 100 is enough? One of the more egregious examples is in Keep Your Friends Close, when Aeolus sings, "Take a look right here at this bag. It has the winds of the storm all trapped." That's not even close. Unless trapped is supposed to rhyme with catch, which that's also not even close. I don't know, most instances of slant rhyme are excessive, if excusable, but this one always got on my nerves a little bit. While we're on this song, I really don't like how Aeolus sings, "And if you win, you will get what you're yearning," as a way to rhyme with serving. It's not the slant rhyme that bothers me, it's just, you will get what you're yearning for. That's the grammatically correct way to say it. Just say for at the end. Yearning as is doesn't make sense here. Okay, I'm gonna sprinkle in a lyrical compliment so you guys don't get mad at me. During Get in the Water, I really love the unconventional use of profound when Poseidon sings, "I'll make tidal waves so profound." It's just an excuse to kinda pseudo-rhyme with drown, but it also sounds raw as hell. Biblical and immensely powerful, even if it's not really the way most people would use profound. So that's cool. Okay, back to the lyrics I don't like. Aside from the slant rhymes, there are two really egregious ones that always come to mind. In Open Arms, Odysseus sings, "My friend, I wish that I could say that I agree, but look at the way this fruit is glowing and filled with glowing seeds. Why did you use glowing twice? What was that about?" Arguably a worse lyric, since it happens at a more pivotal moment, is in the song Odysseus, when he sings to the evil suitors, "As long as you're around, my family's fate is left unknown." But then right after that, he proceeds to sing the exact thing they planned to do to his wife and son. So their fate would not be unknown. Maybe he means it in the sense that with him here, the suitor's plans could potentially change and he doesn't know how. But it's still a weak thing to sing during such a dramatic moment. It's a very wishy-washy and non-definitive lyric that does not fit the intensity of the rest of the segment at all. In terms of some individual songs I'm not huge on, I think the first three in the whole show are unfortunately a little weak, outside of the recurring motifs they set up for later. The